Hey class, we're still in part 6 from the 20th to the 21st century, covering years 1900 through 2020. The Great Depression, the 1930s. Historical background. The stock market crashed on October 29th, 1929, spurring the Great Depression. 25% of the adult population was unemployed. Farmers were highly impacted by the Depression. Most affluent families retained their wealth during the Depression, however. World War II began on September 1st, 1939. In Germany, Adolf Hitler came into power in 1933. The invasion of Poland by Germany is what kicked off World War II. Influence on fashion, the movies. The movies, sportswear, and technology advancements influenced fashion. Women bleached their hair imitating Jean Harlow. The trend for the mannish clothing style started with Marilyn Dietrich and Katharine Hepburn. Shirley Temple inspired the hairstyles of little girls. Department stores named their divisions or sections of their stores after the cinema. Cinema Fashion, Cinema Modes, and Silver Screen Shops were some of these names. Sportswear and technology advances. Sportswear, worn for leisure and not necessarily for a particular sport. California became an expert in sportswear. Technology advances included nylon was marketed in 1938 by E.I. DuPont de Nemours Company. It was used for women's underwear and stockings. The zipper was widely known but not universally used. It was first used for decoration by designer Charles James in 1933. Gabrielle Coco Chanel was responsible for the authenticity in film clothes. Madeleine Vonnet, or who originated the bias cut, was one of the most sought after designers. Elsa Schiaparelli created sweaters in bizarre designs. She emphasized color and used unusual decorative effects. Mae Bocher designed Wallis Simpson's wedding dress. Simpson was the wife of the Duke of Windsor. Madame Gris, who went by Alex, draped garments, creating dresses that intricately wrapped, draped, and pleated around the body. American designers. U.S. designers generally work for ready-to-wear manufacturers. Dorothy Shaver, the VP of Lord & Taylor, created the American Look campaign, which celebrated and promoted designers. Elizabeth Halls, one of the most vocal and controversial designers of this period, disapproved of the press fascination with French design. She advocated for American design. Lily Daché designed millinery-style clothing. She was inspired by surrealism. Department stores divided their departments by price, type of clothing, and target market. Toby Collar Davis created the fashion stylist career when he delivered fashion news on the daily. Costume, 1930s to 1940s. Lastex replaced corsets. Its core filament was of synthetic rubber. This garment gave shape to the body. Silhouettes emphasized the body's natural form. The bosom, waistline, and hips were more defined. Shoulder pads created a broad shoulder. Sleeves were cut full and a maguire or batwing style. The strapless gown first appeared in Hollywood films in the late 1930s. Sleepwear included nightgowns and pajamas, hair and headdress. The page boy, which is a straight hairstyle that was turned under at the ends, was worn, as well as an upsweep, which was curls or braids that were styled on top of the head. The fedora, barrettes, and sailor-inspired hats were also worn. Platforms were introduced by Salvatore Ferragamo at the end of the 1940s. Sportswear. Slacks were worn with tailored shirtwaists, and turtleneck sweaters also became more acceptable. Jeans were popular for a short period of time after being featured in Vogue. Active sports. Two-piece bathing suits were now popular. They came in either a skirt or short style. Accessories included leather handbags and also gloves. Gloves matched the dresses or handbags with which they were carried, either in color or fabric. Jewelry consisted of short pearl necklaces and jeweled clips that were paired and then placed at the neckline or on collars. Cosmetics and grooming. Max Factor became a household name. Waterproof mascara was created by Helena Rubinstein. This was produced much years later, even though it was created earlier on. Costume components for men. Boxer shorts, athletic shorts, and jockey shorts were introduced in the 1930s. The Wallace Berry shirt, also known as the Henley shirt, was inspired by film. This undershirt was made of rib knit and had a buttoned vent in the front. The English drape suit became the dominant cut for suits. It was cut for comfort. It had more fabric at the chest and the shoulders. Zippers were now used on men's bottoms or pants as fly closures. White was also the traditional color for shirts. California collars had shorter, wider points than the Barrymore collar of the 1920s. For outdoor wear, men wore the English guard coat, which was a dark blue coat with wide lapels and an inverted pleat at the back, as well as a half belt. Zip-in linings were also popular, which allowed for coats to be converted from cold weather to warm weather attire. The parka jacket, which was an informal coat style, short and cut with a knitted waistband, cuffs, and a hood, was also worn. Sportswear attire included sport or casual jackets, which were worn in contrasting fabric to trousers. Breast jackets, which were tan cotton jackets with short sleeves and 4 large flapped pockets, were popular for casual wear. Walking shorts were adopted by the affluent for vacation wear. Polo shirts, which were knitted shirts with an attached collar and short button neck vents. These were usually short-sleeved, and they were also adopted as casual wear in the 1920s and thereafter. Dish rag shirts were made of net fabric. Bass shirts were striped, wide, crew neck shirts, and dark blue linen sport shirts. Cowboy shirts were those that had button-down pockets on the chest and pointed collars. Western shirts had crescent-shaped pockets in the front and were made of solid or plaid wool or gabardine. Active sports. Men eventually did away with swimwear tops and went bare-chested. They also wore wind-resistant jackets, which were adopted to shield skiers against the wind. Sleepwear included pajamas, hair, and headdress. Hair was parted on the side and waved. The first electric razor was also introduced during this period. Fedoras, Homburgs, straw boaters, Panama hats, and sports caps were worn. Footwear included socks and patterns such as argyle, chevron, and diamond. Elastic top socks were introduced. Wijuns were moccasin-style type shoes that were inspired by Norwegian fishermen. Shoes closed at the ankle. Chukka boots had laces for closing. Monk's front were shoes with a strap and ankle buckle that was across the ankle. Accessories included sunglasses, which were manufactured at the request of an Army Air Corps Lieutenant John McReady. Jewelry included functional items such as watches, tie pins, shirt studs, cufflinks, and rings. Costume components for children and teens. Girls were inspired by Shirley Temple fashions. Skirts, blouses, or sweaters were worn to school. Pullovers, cardigans, sleeveless sweaters, and slacks were worn as sportswear, and jeans were also worn as everyday attire. Boys wore polo shirts. These were considered part of their everyday attire. Sweaters were also worn of all types. Jeans were another item that was considered part of boys' everyday attire. Teens. Ankle socks were worn with loafers or saddle shoes. Beer jackets, which were white painter's jackets, were a fad amongst college boys.